Welcome to the next edition of Ready and Willing podcast, and today we've got somebody who's been influential in Wigan. If you cut him in half, it would probably say Wigan in it. Ex-rugby league player, ex-coach, ex-England coach, sorry about the exes, Shaun Wane, who's really enamoured in our community, and we're going to have a chat today about his past and what comes up in the future. Thanks, Shaun. Thanks for coming today. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
So firstly, naturally, as I said, Wigan has been you all your life, really, hasn't it? Brought up in Wigan and carried on, been a successful player, a successful coach, and really done that, but always embodied in the community. Can you tell us how it all started as a young lad coming through playing?
Yeah, so I started playing rugby. I was 5 years old. There was a school in Worsley Hall, where I'm from, called St Edward's, and I started playing there. There's a teacher there called Colin Nicholson, and I was playing in the under-11s team, so I was very young. Always playing above my age, and I loved it. I love the physicality. I'm from a family where I've always had to fight my brothers, and so in our family it's been ingrained playing rugby league and physical sport, and so I took to it straight away. I loved it, and then when I left home when I was very, very young. Went living with my girlfriend who lived in Worsley Mains. And then I signed for Wigan when I was 16, and then had a really good career, met some fantastic people. But after St Edward's, I went to Thomas Moore, played for the school team there, and that was my only love, was playing rugby league. I weren't good at school. I didn't like the thought of I had to sit there at 9 o'clock and learn about a subject I wasn't interested in. I love sport. But learning wasn't for me. But as soon as I left school, I started learning a lot. In my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, I'm 61 or 62. I've got a few bangs on my head. I'm in my early 60s, and I'm doing courses now. I'm an avid learner, and has been ever since leaving school. And so signing for Wigan was a big moment. I never ever, in my wildest dreams, being a kid watching Wigan play at Central Park, thought that I would pull a jersey on for my beloved club. And even when they signed me at 16, I thought they'd made a mistake. And I thought, I'm going to be found out soon anyway. So I made my debut same year and never looked back.
Yeah, so naturally, as we talk about people who live in Worsley Hall, say now today, can look at you and say, you can achieve things. You don't need to sit back and go, there's nothing for me. You make your own luck sometimes in the world. Rugby's it was a tough sport then. It is now, but I mean, it's a lot more kind of fitness and everything now. So probably the game's changed a lot from when you was 16 to what it is now. How would you see?
Oh, you can't compare it, Chris. It was brutal when I was very, very young. It was nasty. It was people trying to break your jaw, and even when I was a kid, and it was really physical. I mean, rugby league's a tough sport to play without that nastiness, and I've always been brought up to stick up for myself, and so fight fire with fire, which I always did, and but it was a brutal game then. There's no doubt about it, but I loved it. The more brutal it was, the more I loved it, and I love the physicality of it. I love the fact that the team spirit element. So you get in places when you play rugby, you get in times in the game when you're that tired and that out of breath, because it puts that much pressure on your body. When you're sprinting back, sprinting forward, it wrestled continuous. There's times when you can't carry on, and but you have to. You have to carry on. You have to find something because your teammates need you to, and that is embedded in my personality. That love for team sport. I see past players now I've not seen for 20 years, and it's never an handshake. It's always an hug. Because of the bad places you've been to. When you've got to rely on each other. Once you're a friend on a rugby field, you've got friends for life.
So 1987, everybody always talks about the World Club Challenge with Manly. I was lucky enough, I watched that game. That was brutal. And that was, I think everybody talk about you being in that game. What was it like, that one?
It was good. It was on a Wednesday night in '87. The build up, I remember getting down about 3 hours before the game, and there must have been 20,000 on then. There ended up being nearly 40,000 on the ground, and but even 3 hours driving down Wigan Lane, and I could see the massive crowd, and I thought to myself, this is going to be special. This is something different. I could sense it. And I'm an avid NRL fan. I watch a lot of Australian sport, and I knew that they would be very good. But Graham Lowe, our coach then, he nailed that week, because normally when you go Saturday, you'll train hard in the early part of the week, and then just ease off towards the end. And we didn't. We was absolutely, the Tuesday night before that game against Manly, we was full on contact in training, and we all thought that Graham had got it wrong, but we still did it. And his reply to us that this is going to be another level of physicality tomorrow. We're trying to kill them, and they're trying to kill us. and you know what? He nailed it. I never felt tired. The fact the first time when it kicked off, the first time I looked at the clock, there were 2 minutes of the game left. There was 78 minutes gone, so it just flew. But enjoyable, really, really nasty, physical, and they were tough. They weren't just us. The game was 8-2. There were no tries scored, but it was a physical.
I mean, it's testament really, because there's been so many games over the years with Wigan and winning all they've done. People always talk about that 1987 Manly game. People who, even younger people coming through watching that, on DVD, video, whatever they watch it on, it's like it's renowned, isn't it? For
it is. And you know what? I don't know how many years ago it is, but there's no week goes by without I see somebody around town, doctors, wherever I am, and somebody will mention that game. There was there, So it's funny there weren't 150,000 on that field. There's that many mentioning it to me. Even when I go to Yorkshire, people travelled, and it was a game I'm so glad I played in. But I'm not one for showing my emotion that much. But if you watch the video back when the siren goes, me and Ella is not one for showing his feelings either, and we end up. I don't know if you've seen it back with you, Ella. We ended up jumping up, hugging each other. It was that good of a feeling. Then all the fans come on, and we celebrated for days after.
Oh, I can imagine. A few beers there, would
there? Oh yeah, a few beers. And we played Warrington at St Helens on the Sunday, and we beat them at Lancashire Cup, which was we didn't train after the Manly game. We didn't train. We all went out partying, and then last few days we got ready for that game in Lancashire Cup, and we beat Warrington at Saints, and that was a. And I think to back up and beat a really good team after that brutal game, it showed you the mental toughness of that team.
So moving on, really, and actually we could talk for hours about the past and what you've done and all. Moving into management is always a big step, isn't it? Because from being a player, then an assistant coach to a coach, with people you've worked with, then you're the boss, aren't you? How did you handle that bit?
I found it easy. Right. I did find it easy. I got the bug. The council gave me a job in 1984. Me and Dean Bell went round to Wigan schools. So we go to Eddie Harris and we go to Thomas Moore, and we'd teach everybody, boys and girls, about the skills of rugby league. And I remember going to certain schools, and the girls and boys there would have never touched a rugby ball, and teaching them how to pass, teaching them how to run and pass, and teach them how to catch. And then the standard was terrible. And then I go back the week after, and they got a bit better. And I went back the week after, and they got even better and better. And I found that feeling of seeing improvement in young people addictive. I loved that feeling of just simply getting a bit better. And that got me into coaching. So the council paid me and Dean to go around the schools and do that. It was a great job because teaching our sport, but seeing all them young people improve and get better I got addicted to it. Dean didn't. He didn't go into coaching, but that was the start of me coaching. I started coaching after that, and I still feel the same way. I've been coaching at the top level, international level, in World Cups, but I still have that same ethos of I want to see Jack Wellsby improve. I want to see George Williams get better, just like it did Eddie Harris and Thomas Moore in 30 years ago, however long it was ago. So that feeling of improvement was, I mean, some coaches do it to win things. Some coaches, they have different reasons, monetary value and whatever it is, your reason for coaching. Mine was definitely seeing people improve.
So naturally, you worked under Maguire, didn't you? Then?
Yeah.
And then naturally you took over. And Matty Pete was part of that team going forward?
Yeah, he was my area of youth. I mentored Matty since he was very, very young. I've worked with Matty and helped him a lot. He's helped me a lot. And coaching with Mike Maguire was hard because I'm an head coach. I'm not an assistant coach. And I assisted Madge, and it was hard because I have very strong opinions about how we play, how we defend, how we behave, how we dress, how we travel, and our opinion didn't match, and it was hard because I was the assistant, and I had to support Madge, So I did 2 years with him as an assistant, learned a lot, and he learned a lot of me, and then I got the gig to be a coach and implement everything I thought was what we needed to. But one point I want to make is that first year, I was trying to be everybody. I was trying to be a bit of Madge and a bit of Graham Law and a bit of Peter Walsh, who coached me at Workington, and a bit of me. And it wasn't me. It wasn't me. So we'd have losses, and I'd be talking to the players. And I remember one game in that my first year of coaching, and Sam Tompkins come to me. We got beat at home, and it weren't a good performance. And I was trying to talk technical about what we need to fix and let's have a good week. And Sam Tompkins come to me and he said, "What's happening? What? I know that's not you. I know you will be seriously upset at losing in that manner, but you're not showing it." And it played on my mind, that comment. And when we finished that year, we won the league leaders. That's it. Got knocked out the Challenge Cup, knocked out the playoffs. And to some people, winning the league league is a big thing. But I wanted to win grand finals. I wanted to win Challenge Cups. So we won that one thing. I sat down with Ian Lenigan, the owner, and he said to me, "I think you've done okay this year." And I was fuming. I was fuming with myself. I don't want to do okay. I want to break records. I want to win everything. So him saying to me, "You've done okay," was devastating, absolutely devastating. And I remember I went home and I spoke to my missus, and I said, "You know what? If I'm going to get sacked doing this job, my dream job," so you can think you're a Wigan lad because you know what it's like. The chance to coach your hometown club is a dream, and I had that dream. And I would have paid money to coach Wigan, and I got well paid coaching them. But it was a dream for me. So I thought, I'm not going to lose this job not being myself. So the year after, I coached my way. So dress code, how we trained, players out on time. We looked after the team bus when we travelled. We were very respectful. We trained really hard. We lifted heavy in gym. We bled. We got strong. Everything when I was really passionate about. I coached the juniors when Sam was a kid, and people like Joe Tompkins and Paul Prescott. I did with our first team, and we won a double. We won Challenge Cup and we won the grand final, which is very, very hard to do. And you know what? It was nothing I did, I said, what transformed us into a team that won a double. But it was, I was just myself. So I mentor Joel Tompkins at Catalan a lot. I speak to him a lot. And the one thing I continually said to him is, you know the answers. It's in your heart. You what you feel and what your first thoughts are probably the right ones. And just be yourself. Coach your way, what you're really passionate about, and that might be slightly different to mine, and my way is slightly different to yours. But you have your own way. And once I started to be myself, it was so enjoyable. We won a double, and that convinced me that why I messed around last year trying to be a bit of everyone else. I just needed to be 100% Shaun Wane, and that's the same for any any of the students in this campus, whatever you choose to do, don't try to copy. I mean, you pick up good habits. We'll have conversation, and you'll say something to me about high performance, and I'll take it on board and I'll use it. But at the end of the day, the decisions I make, it's in my heart. If I'm having a nice conversation with a player, a staff member, I am genuinely upset with them, and I'll be supportive, but they'll know where they stand. But it's from my heart. That's what I really feel.
I mean, actually, I've dealt with a lot of players of you. I met Matty a few times. I know Shaun quite well at Auckland, and everybody's got that kind of respect and Wigan way of doing things. And, and a real courteous to people. There's none of this highfalutin. I always remember me and Dave Mullin, you sat down with Roberto Martinez when he was in the Premier League, and he had vision. You'll have met Roberto a few times. Yeah. Great guy. And he wanted all them players who played in the Premier League to live in Wigan. And we're like, this is not going to happen. And he really wanted that to happen, and said, I want them to be walking around Tesco and all this kind of thing. 6 months later, he went, you're right. He said, they're all in Manchester and they're high-rise flats. And they did, I mean, they were great. It was a great time for us, but they've not got that same connection in this respect, because it's a different game, football.
Yeah.
You know, where Wigan, it's like, it's all Wigan, isn't it? You know, you've got Junior and Asembo coming through. You've got so many people coming through. And I asked Matty a question at a question and answer session a few months ago. And people were all asking stupid questions. Everybody had a few beers at that time. I hadn't been drinking, so and I asked him how difficult it was. And that's people who he's played with, and then you've got to make decisions. And the point I made was Sam Powell, who we had to let go. And that's it. I know Sam's ingrained in Wigan. I know the lad, he lives in New Springs, so I know Sam really well. And Matty just said, look, we've got to make decisions in rugby league. It's really hard. And Sam's a good mate of mine. He's a good mate of my family. And he said it really did wrench me to do that. But you've got to really make them difficult decisions sometimes. And you had a few of them.
There's no doubt about that. I let Mick and Matt go. And when we let Sam go, I was involved with the club, and it was hard. There's no doubt. But we're a salary capped sport, and you have to make them tough calls. There's no doubt about it. But Matty's done that. It's very, very hard. But I go back to what I said before. As long as you're making them decisions for the right reasons, and you're being really honest and telling them the reasons why, then you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. I was very harsh on. We signed a player from Wales called Gil Dudson, and great lad, really big, tough Welshman, but wild, which all rugby league players are flawed. They're not normal, and I said that in the nicest possible way. But in the nature of the game, it's not normal to play and train how we train. And Gil was a really, really good bloke, but wild, and you need to be very, very strict with him. And so no grey areas, black or white. This is how you behave. And I was like that with Gil, and we ended up moving him on, and he went to another club after a few years with us, and he won things, and we stayed friends, and I went to Tony Club's wedding at Killicote, and he come to me in the bar, Gil, and he looked at me, and because he got a bit older and retired then, and he looked at me and he went, I get it now, because he matured a bit, and he got married, and he'd had kids, and he'd realised that I was hard on him, because I had to be. I knew to get the best out of Gil Dudson, you can't handle him softly. You need to be very, very harsh and strict. And he understood, and he got it. You know what I mean? Because it was from my heart. I meant it.
So moving on from there, which is quite raw for you now, the England job, and actually you've just finished that now, and it's been a difficult time. We're not going to kind of fine detail, but playing the Aussies, he's hard, and I know that it would have hurt you really badly, and now you come away from it. What's your kind of thoughts and feelings around all that?
Yeah, it's. I don't think I've got over it yet. I've never been beaten 3-0. From starting playing at 5, St Edwards were a good team, so I'm used to winning. I'm not used to losing, and I'm from Wigan, and we always have the best town teams, and we always have Lancashire always strong, and so it was a weird position for me to be in, and I'm stood there after the 3rd test at Edinley, and they just beat us 3-0, and everybody's coming to me saying well done, and the Australian players and the Australian staff were saying great things about us. They didn't mean it. They were trying to make me feel better, and it weren't working. And I don't think I've ever been as sad. And I was stood at the side of the field, and Andy Last said to me, my assistant, said, "Mate, you're going to have to go on and say well done to them." And people say, you know, you need to be a good loser. I'm not a good loser.
Yeah.
And walking on, and I did as England coach. I that was my job, to go on there and say well done to Kevin Walters and the players, and I did. And when I got up to the players, there were like Angus Crichton, who plays for Australia, no top on, and I'm looking at him, and his backside is athletic. He's got massive curves, massive short. He's absolutely huge. Looks like a bodybuilder, and just a different specimen to what we had. And my players, your Matty Lees and Jack Wellesby's and Georges and Darryl Clark's, they're good players. They're tough as you can never imagine. But I looked at the athletes what Australia had, and I thought, we're playing a different game at the minute. We need to make some changes. And so I did a review for the RFL, and it was harsh. It was harsh. It was never going to be good, because we got beat 3-0. It's hard to admit that, but the loss 3-0 hurt me badly. I don't think I'll ever get over it. Comments from, I know you're going to get comments from everybody. It's part of the job. I've had stuff all my life, from when I started playing when I was 16. And but what does hurt is fellow professionals having bad comments. What don't make sense. I find that hurtful, you know, because I don't comment on pundits and a job I've not done. I've never done what. I'll never have a comment about you. You run a podcast, and I've not done it. So who am I to have a strong comment about people who run podcasts? You're the expert. You do it, and that's the way I think. You know, I'll never have a comment on being a pundit, because I don't want to do it, and I've never done it. But I do feel they should think that way. They've never coached. You know, I give up an unbelievably good job to be assistant at Wigan, to Mike Maguire. I lost 2/3 of my salary. I had a mortgage then. I lost imagine that. I give up 2/3 of my salary to be an assistant coach at Wigan. How many people would do that? I did that, and it was hard
because of passion.
Passion, and I just knew if I got the head coach job, I'd kill it. I'd do it well. I knew it. I was dead really confident without sounding cocky, and it worked out that way.
So I suppose the $500 question is, how do we match the Aussies? How do we because we've said this for many years, not just when you've been in charge. It's been going on for a long time. I spent some time in Oz, and you can see how the sports structure is. Even from low level, it's really professional. They put a lot of cash into it, and if you see, there's so many players out there, and your national team is your best of them.
We need to make drastic changes, Chris, and I've put this review together, and it's mind blowing, and I know it's right, but we need to make changes. But we're only going to see the value in them changes in 10, 15 years, and that's a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, we have a lot of amateur coaches who want to progress, and they want to coach at the highest level, and they want to coach at Wigan, which is fair enough. They're ambitious, and I've been there. But we need to employ development coaches who will stay with a group of kids and develop simple catch, pass, tackle technique. And I go and watch young kids play. My grandson plays, and they're trying to run block shape or that. We can run that. Just get kids running. Just let them enjoy running with the ball. And if they're running wrong way, who cares?
Yeah.
Just be happy they're running with the ball, and then teach them the simple skills, not the complicated stuff, and be happy developing that age group for a year, and then stay with them, but developing simple skills, and we don't have that. You know, we have really ambitious coaches, which is great, but there's a detriment on future players with that as well.
I think there's just, we'll finish on a couple of points. One, the way Wigan treat players and look after them, if you like. I've seen a lot of young players come through and chatted And I think Matty does that, and that's probably come from you, is embodied into kind of looking after them and making sure they look after themselves, but actually they keep their feet on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been really strict on what the players do away from the field. When we had young players coming through, I didn't want them buying a Audi TT and paying 800 quid on a lease for a car when they don't live with their mum and dad.
Yeah,
I wanted them to buy an house, and I wanted that money to go into earning money with an house. And because my big thing is when the players retire, when they're 31, 32, you know, I want them to be successful and have a good life, and they earn it. You know what I mean? And when a rugby player retires, the body's not good. You know, because you wreck your body in a career. So I want them to have something to show for it, like an house pay for cash in, but whatever it is. So I was very strict on that, and Matty's took that on board and took it to a different level, and that's what we do. We're passionate about caring for the players. Sam Powell is at Warrington now. I met with Sam last week.
Okay.
I had a brew with him and a catch up, and I want to make sure his wife's good and his kids are good and he's doing well. And even though he's not with Wigan anymore, he's always a Wiganer.
Yeah, he'll be back sometime.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure he will, and he's doing a great job at Warrington. But once you're a Wiganer, you know, I fly to Australia, and I meet up with Pat Richards and Tilly Matautai, and they're loved and proud of being with Wigan. But the thing about them players, Chris, they were good for us because they understand what playing St Helens meant to the Wigan lads. You know what I mean? When I walk on a grand final pitch and we've won it, beat Warrington, an hug with George Williams, who's a Wigan-born lad, come through the system, is very different to an hug with Blake Green, who's an Australian. Yeah. I love Blake Green. He's a great player, passionate about Wigan, but he's not from Wigan. And it's just a different sort of hug when you've got a lad that's been through the system and lived and breathed it and won something with our fantastic club.
So like that Sam, I know Sam's family and whatever. I met Sam where he's building his house and doing whatever he's doing through Joe Charnock. So you can't refuse Joe. I know Joe's not with us anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you go meet Sam for the first time I met him. Actually, we knew each other. You wouldn't have known he was a rugby league player. He's not big head. He doesn't talk about what he's done. He talked more about his chickens in the yard than he did. You probably had that.
Yeah.
But more about that, and I think that says something really about a person. And he's a family person, so he's got his kids and Rhea and all that, and that embodies into what I want to finish off, Shaun, is how we started really. It's naturally your past and all that stuff. But I've heard you a couple of times in inspirational speaking. Once you was at Arns and I was there and I did some stuff. And the impact you have on people in that audience, and you know some of the audience. But actually, where you've come from, what you can achieve, your goals in life, but actually that discipline, but actually the care for the community and the care for the town. So for me, so thanks for that, because I think you've embodied that into a lot of people when they come away from that, going. So if anybody has that opportunity to listen to wherever you're doing some of that in the future, I've always said to people, go and listen to him. You'll have a laugh about it. You know, there'll be some swear words in there, and you'll get it brutal, but you'll get guns and all really with that. So yeah, I think that's important, and I think that goes down with people really and all that.
I enjoy that. It's good. I like meeting people. I like chatting to people who have done things I've not done. So I enjoy that very much, but I appreciate them.
And I'm sure the college here wants, naturally, everybody I bring, they're always trying to get stuff included with the college going forward and all that. And I think you can bring that to people as well and doing all that. So thanks for being with us, and we're going to bring one of the students on in a little bit.
Yeah.
He's going to grill you a little bit on some of the stuff which was happening in the past, but probably in the future.
Excellent.
Right, I want to thank Maddie, who's coming here now, who's going to give Shaun a bit of a grilling, ask a few questions about what's going on. Maddie's got an interest in rugby and the town, so over to you, Maddie.
So I play rugby myself. Like I play on Saints Academy under 19s, and I think there's like a stereotype with some like people and girls and that, like girls playing rugby like have to be built, but I'm not built. Like I'd say I'm quite lean and skinny, but I'd like to say I'm a good player. And then there's also a thing where it's like, oh, girls shouldn't play rugby because it's a boys' sport and all that type of stuff. So, like, what do you think about that, really? Because you've played rugby, like, your whole life and stuff.
Yeah. I think rugby league has given me everything. I owe nothing. I owe the game everything that I have ever had. Every friend I've got is through our game. So I know what it gives a person. It made me the man I am today. So the more people what play rugby league, the better. Whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. I have a granddaughter who's 3, and she's obsessed with girls rugby, and she cannot wait. She wants me to take her. She's 3 years old. Wants me to take her watch Wigan train, and she's obsessed. And we'll push it if she wants to play. It's we see the value on what the game's given me and my family, and if she wants to play, I'd encourage it. And same for you. And it's the best to me. It's the best sport in the world. I look at games of rugby league and how they train. I know GPS, how they run and impacts, and compared to Aussie rules and NFL, and there's no game compares to the athletes what play our game rugby league. So I'd encourage it. I'd encourage the more people can play our great game, the better, and that includes females. Is that the answer you wanted?
Yeah, like that one. So obviously, you said earlier that like you've grown up and you wasn't really all for academics and stuff, and you were just rugby. Would you see yourself doing something else if you was, I'd say more smarter, but that sounds rude. Say if you like went into your academics and stuff, would you have seen you doing something else, or do you just think it would have been rugby?
Yeah, good question. No, I don't. Me not enjoying school. When I look back in my life now, I really wish I'd have buckled down at school, and I didn't, sadly. But what I did realise, as I said before, in my 20s, 30s, 40s, I am an avid learner, reader. I'm doing a CEO course now, a 2-year CEO course. I never want to be a CEO, but on that course, I'm learning so much, meeting so many impressive people. So every day I'm learning something new. I have a proper growth mindset, attitude. So I don't think I would have done anything else. My role now is I'm a director at Wigan, look after the leadership and management, mentor all the coaches, look after the commercial side of Wigan Warriors. But my main income is speaking. So I travel around the world and around the country speaking for big organisations, and what I talk about, and I'm talking about huge organisations, bigger than you can imagine, in London, and I'm just telling them things what we did at Wigan, like really simple things, like meeting start on time, looking after the team bus where we travelled, and people might say, why is that so important? I have a saying me that anything you do is everything you do. So if you're going to get off a coach and leave it untidy, that's you. That's your team. That's you as an individual. Or else, if you're going to look after it and be respectful to that driver and that coach company, that's you as well. So teaching, to me, that's automatic, and we do that every single day. But in business, they see it as confrontation. They find things very awkward, which I do deliver every day. So I find that fascinating, me going around to big companies and teaching them about the finer detail of high performance and winning cultures. And so I have a really, really good life, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Can I just come in, Maddie, really talk about the rugby? So you're at Saints Academy.
Yeah.
Which we'll cut that bit out.
Yeah.
The Saints bit
That.
But you can see what's happened at Wigan with Dennis Betts and a women's team. It's really come on leaps and bounds, and I think the club have embodied that. I know Shaun's been involved with some of that behind the scene, and actually Saints were the team at one point, and Wigan's took over that bit. But I think they see that on par. And actually, Edge All Road's been made as a campus there, which it's all about that training all the time and making it professional. And I've chatted to some of the girls who play. And actually, it's not on par with the men yet, but it's getting there at Wigan, and it's really seen as Mike Danson sees that as key to moving forward them all, whether it's women's, whether it's men's, whether it's disability. It's about something for everybody. So get up to Wigan, never mind.
I was on the pathway, but then I went to Saints instead.
Why is that?
They dropped me.
Did they?
Yeah.
No, right.
It's not my fault.
No. But I think when you look at a lot of the women play now, I mean, even the men, it's not about big men playing, it's about fitness. It's like you just mentioned about the Australian team with like bodybuilders, it's not big men going out there hitting each other and doing whatever, you know what I mean? But
Sam Tompkins, probably the best player, one of the best players I coached, and he was very slight, but competitive, skillful, tough, but competitive is the main thing he had, regardless of size.
I've played rugby like my whole life since I was like 9, and like going from playing with lads to with girls and on an academy, like I've gone through my fair share of like being down, like my mental health all over the place. And I think rugby's like one of the things that's like brought me out of it. Like some days I'd come home from school, from college, and be like, I just want to lie down. Mum's like, you've got training, come on. And I'm like, for God's sake, and I'd go training. And it's just like, it's something that you can use to take your mind away from things. Would you like agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I'm from an era of in 80s and 90s where you get on with it, and I know it's a different way now. So I'm 100% with you there. That it gives people a sense of belonging. You've been with the team, and I know there's times when I didn't want to go in work when I was coaching at Wigan, but when I was coming home, I was thinking, thank God I went in today, and that's what being with other people helps with people's mental health and helps from being a good player. So there's so many positives from being in a team sport, playing rugby league, especially in Wigan. So you need to come to Wigan, but especially in Wigan, I'd encourage more people to get involved with a fantastic sport, and whether you're male or female.
Can I say with the mental health? We didn't really touch on that earlier, which we probably should have done. It's really important topic at the moment, and I think you're right. Going back 80s, 90s, I'm similar age to Shaun. You didn't talk about that. You just got on and did it. You can see it in football now. The mental health comes out, and one key point, Fairclamp, which is based up Norley, and when it was in the building where the Warriors was, I always remember going in there and chatting with Shirley, and Mickey McAloran was in there volunteering. He was injured at the time, and I think he struggled to cope because he was out of that team structure, and he was in there working and delivering and doing stuff, and I'm like, it's amazing. And he was like, he chatted to Dad, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but he was like, I've got to do something here. I've got to be doing something, I can't be in that training field. It was a bad injury, I can't remember what it was at the time. And actually, you was close to Mickey, weren't you?
Very, very close.
And he came out and chatted to him at first and said, look, I'm struggling, I need to do something. And so it can happen to anybody at whatever level.
Yeah.
So thank you, thanks, Maddie, but I think you've opened a few doors there, and that's
very good.
Shaun's answered them, and he can see that actually going back years that he was in your place, and other people have coming through that structure. Not everybody can be in the first team, not everybody can play in World Championships. It's about enjoying it, and if you look, St Pat's is still going. You've got Rosebridge. We're really lucky in this area. I mean, I'm more of a football fan. I shouldn't really say that much, but and it's great to see Wigan at the moment where Latics and Warriors are working side by side. So Sarah's at the side of Rads, and it's all about the community and building all that together, which is difficult because football's a different sport than rugby in Wigan. But people like Shaun have been an inspiration to a lot of people, and one of the reasons we did the podcast was so people can see the real person behind stuff. So naturally, Andy Burnham, so as politicians, we all get a bit of grief on social media and everything. And people came to him and said, what a decent guy. And he is. And it's same with Shaun, people have a pop and go, oh, you lost 3-0, it was crap, you should have done this, you should have picked this. We all pick a team, don't we? Everybody picks the team, don't they? But listen to the person, they've got a family, they've got they're embodied in the town, and do it for the right reason of doing it. But also, the human beings, everybody's a human being, and people get paid as sport, we get paid as politicians to do stuff, not enough, but it's what you're into. And I think Shaun's touched about education and going back. I was probably very similar to Shaun. He's a better rugby player than I was because I never played. But that's just about, yeah. But I didn't do the education bit. I was very similar to Shaun. I think it was that era where it was like you was either really good and people listened to you, or if you was anything else, you was just like brushed to one side. So I've started. I'm back here now doing courses here now myself, doing counselling courses, which proper counselling, not political counselling. So I just thought I need to do something different and test yourself, because academically I'm not brilliant. I can get away with stuff, and it's pushing boundaries. So when I've done this first part of this course, they kept firing back to me saying, you've not done this right, you've not done that right, paragraph this, and it takes a bit of learning. Sometimes you think, why am I doing this? Wait, you know what I mean? I've enough things to do, but you've got to tax yourself. And you, like you said, education is doing stuff, and anybody can do it. Nobody out there should think, oh, I can't do it, I'm not clever enough. Yeah, everybody can got something to do, and opening that door and coming out. So, really interesting conversations there. I'm sure we'll have you back at some point, Shaun. We're going to see what you're doing in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back.
But the stuff that goes on at Wigan, we touched on earlier with Taylor Kerr, the guy who just made his mum works in the town hall where I'm based. And the way Wigan Warriors have looked after him and the family, and that makes it, is that family ethos of what Wigan is about. He's an up-and-coming lad. He's really good. Whether he'll make it, and nobody ever knows that bit, whether he stays at Wigan, it's all that. The salary cap makes a big difference to everything in rugby league. But clearly that guy's on cloud nine at the moment. His family are on cloud nine. You wouldn't believe what it means to them and the way the club treated them. And I think that's something we should all think about as an organisation. It's not about money. It's not about making money. It's how you treat people. And I think Shaun's been brought up on that and with the players. And he said he's got respect from all the players who worked with him. And people will come back years and go, you were right, as you mentioned earlier. And you'll have had them gripes with people over the years. And Matty'll have that now, and early doors. And when you don't win, so when OKR win, it wasn't good, and it would have hurt him, that bad start. And now they're hitting a few hurdles, and that's life, isn't it?
It is.
Not everybody can win all the time.
No.
And I had Derek Beaumont on here, so that was an interesting
Did
one.
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I mean,
nice guy.
Decent guy.
Yeah.
Heart on his sleeve, community, people. He was brought up in Little Alton, in a rough part of Manchester, if you like, just outside of Bolton, and that's why he is what he is. And I don't think you'll ever change him, actually.
No, nice fella. I like him.
He's good. He's interesting. He's an interesting character, but good. So thanks, Shaun, for coming.
Cheers, Chris.
Thanks for opening up and telling us. Thanks, Maddie, for putting your input into there. And good luck at Saints.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you. I'm sure Shaun will have a word with Dennis Betts and be watching you. So we'll see what happens. Thanks to everybody at the college, and we put this together. This has been Ready and Willing Podcast.